Hello, I'm Jeanne Fiorini. Thanks for being here at the Tarot Tips. We are continuing in our series of comparing and contrasting pairs of cards. I think if you've followed the last few videos, you can see how it would be very easy to get confused about what's the difference between some of these pairs of cards that do look very similar and maybe have a similar tone one to the other. Today we're going to talk about the Wheel card and the World card. These cards do have a lot in common visually and in terms of their significance when they come up on the table. But there also are some very important ways that they are very different. So let's go to the tarot table and we'll look at the Wheel and the World card. Okay, here are our examples for today, the Wheel and the World card. Let's talk about how they're similar. There are some obvious diagrammatical similarities in these cards, but let me just say the very obvious one, that these are both Major Arcana cards, which means that they are archetypes, that they are big picture themes. They are significant when they come up. They indicate that the forces in the universe are at work, not the forces of the personality. And, you know, how are we moving with these larger forces? So each one of these indicates a big picture theme is happening in our life. Each of these cards does signify the conclusion of a cycle. And we can, you know, anytime you see a circle in a card, that might be implicated. So here we have the turning of the wheel. Here we have the circle or the oval form here in the center. So cycles, patterns, evolution is a common theme in both of these cards. Each card in its meaning relates to how the individual person fits into the larger picture of life. We have the elements in the corners, depicted in the corners of each of these cards. In the Wheel card, we see them as animals. We have earth, fire, air, water. Same over here, earth, fire, air, and water. Symbols of those. If you're looking at a different tarot deck other than this, see if you see indications of the elements in your four corners. So, you know, this does indicate that the pieces of life, the aspects of our experience are all at play here. As things evolve, as things change, as things move. So let's get to some of the significant ways that these cards are different. The first, and I think to me the most important aspect of how these are different, is that the Wheel is non-personal. The Wheel is about cycles and change and seasons, if you will, seasons of life, not just the seasons in the year. But, you know, is it a season for accomplishing? Is it a season for relationship? Is it a season for rest? You know, this idea that we all have moving and evolving patterns in our life. And sometimes they change when we're not looking. So the Wheel is ultimately a card of the non-personal force of change. I live in Maine, and when you know, the beautiful summer turns into, you know, the cold, harsh winter, we can't take that personally. You know, it's not a personal transition. It's a non-personal way that life around us is changing. So jobs change, relationships change, things change. That's what the Wheel card is about. The World card is a very personal card. We still see the elements in the corner, but here they have become solidified In the wheel card, each one, it looks very similar. They're shown as angels with these wings. So these are ideas that are still floating around here in the wheel card. We haven't really manifested quite yet, as we see here, the really clear forms of the bull and the lion and the human head and the Scorpio eagle, earth, fire, air, and water. And right in the center, if you were to look at the wheel card, what's in the center of the wheel card? The center of the wheel, right here. If you were to look at the world card and say, what is in the center here? It's right at the navel of this person. So the birthing point, the emerging point, the connection to generations, the individual person stands in this, or kind of dances, if you will, 1 foot connected, 1 foot released, here in the center of this card. So the world is the completion of a personal cycle, whereas the wheel is non-personal, like we could say things change. The world card says, I created the change in the world that I wanted to see. So there's a sense in this world card of, I've done my job, I did what I needed to do here. Kind of on the other hand, sometimes been there, done that. I've baked that cake. I don't want to bake that cake again, you know? So yes, a new cycle is emerging in each of these cards. But in the wheel card, as card 10, this card says, well, you're still in process of the same adventure, let's say, or same journey, but it's going to take a little bit of a turn. When you get to this card, card 21, the conclusion of the Major Arcana series, the message is not it's a new phase of the journey, but now there's going to be a new journey. So a new chapter of a book, a new book. Now you can, or we can, kind of hop on 1 foot, so to speak. We can enjoy the completion, the finality, the resolution, the accomplishment, I guess we could say, of any sort of a completion. But eventually we're going to have to move on to the Fool, which is the next card, to the new book, to the new learning, to the new adventure that comes in our life. So a shift in the process. This would be about a new process. Now the thing about, another thing about the World card that I would like to point out is that it's a card that sometimes comes up when a person is done with this life. So in some ways, and you may have heard me say this in other videos, sometimes the World card comes up when someone is ready to pass or has passed. And it's very, if you want to say, consoling when this card comes up in that regard, because it does indicate that the person did what they came here to do, that they completed their mission, so to speak. So there is a sense of completion in this card. This is the completion of a certain phase, but this really indicates there's still things to do to bring the elements. See how this maybe looks a little fuzzy, and if I were to bring it into focus, it might bring me to this place. There's still work to do back here, and things need to change in order to bring in new pieces. But here, you know, the cake is baked. Dessert has been served. You know, the meal is over. The meal is complete, let's put it that way. The elements are in their place. The human is in the center. I like to say in this card that they're connected to themselves, they're connected to their world, and they're connected to their sense of spirituality. So there's this three-way constellation, if you will, that this card has accomplished resolution. There's still a lot of questions back here. There really does not need to be any questioning when the World card comes up. So cycles, yes. A certain level of completion, yes. But this indicates a shift in the path. This implies completion of the journey and eventually taking a new path. Okay, hope all that was helpful, useful for you as you're working with your cards. We'll see you next time.